What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Rule of Two Review. My name is Rob, and today, 8th gen predictions are pretty big. So this was a pretty cool news story that I stumbled upon on VG Charts. Apparently, there is a report by, what are they called? Let me find that name. DFC Intelligence. So DFC Intelligence apparently reports that it is expected that the 8th generation of consoles, so the Xbox One, Wii U, and PlayStation 4, are expected to sell upwards of 200 million units combined by 2019. Now, I'm not going to lie, that definitely sounds to me like it's a pretty lofty goal. I don't necessarily know that it could reach that number, but at the same time, I mean, I guess I certainly could see it when you look at the way the previous two generations have sold. Due to the massive success of the PlayStation 2 and then subsequently the Wii, each of those systems selling over 100 million units apiece. I think PlayStation 2, best-selling home console of all time, I think is upwards of 140, 150 million worldwide lifetime sales, which is insane. Again, the Wii sold just over 100 million units itself as well, worldwide. The Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, same generation, were in like the 70 to 80 million unit range. Those systems were supported for a long time, and to be fair, are actually still being supported technically. So those two generations, you know, the 6th and 7th generation, did both sell more than 200 million units within their lifetime, but that's over a pretty long stretch of years for each of those. This generation is interesting because the PlayStation 4 is selling outrageously well, better than expected. And the difference is I don't think the competition is doing as well. Of course, the Wii U, an amazing system, is unfortunately not doing gangbuster numbers right now. That's kind of, going slower than expected. The Xbox One is doing very well, but I think it's just doing averagely well. It's also not doing gangbusters, I wouldn't say. Now, I do think that this holiday is going to be a telltale sign because we're going into a holiday where it seems like the PlayStation 4 has the least exciting things, the least exciting or compelling library games to play. Not a whole lot going on to really probably, compel people to want to pick up that system. The Wii U and the Xbox One, I think, will both have a pretty strong library, so I think both of those are going to pick up significantly over the holiday. We'll see if we end up getting a price drop for any system. I'm sure the PS4 won't be price dropping. The Xbox One has price dropped twice already. The Wii U has price dropped once. I could see it price dropping again going into the holiday before the end of this year. So I feel like those two consoles have a pretty high likelihood of having a really kick-ass holiday. I certainly hope so. PlayStation 4, I'm sure will certainly do well enough for itself, but I think that it's also going to be the first sign of the system slowing down, at least compared to its competition. So, like I said, this holiday, 2015, will be a telltale sign. E3 coming up next month is also going to give us a good inclination of what we can expect from all three systems going into the end of the year and beyond. But, I mean, gosh, 2019 is only 4 years away. By the end of this holiday, it's only going to be 3 years away, so it's really hard to tell where they're going to be going. I mean, for those systems, for the three of them to have a combined 200 million units, I mean, they each have to have sold quite a bit. I mean, 70, 80 million a piece. It's just going to be crazy to see what's going on. Do I think it's possible? Yeah, I certainly do. Especially if the PlayStation 4 keeps up its momentum, which is possible, even though I do see a decline coming soon. I do think it's possible that I'm totally wrong there, and it's already been selling, completely on hype without really a very strong library. Again, as a PS4 owner and fan, I still say it doesn't have a great library, so it's baffling that it's selling so well. So when you look at it bucking that trend, it's not insane to think that it couldn't just continue to do so. So maybe I'm wrong and the sales really won't wane. But, again, it's really going to be up to what the Wii U and the Xbox One do because they're the ones that have more ground to pick up. Definitely the Wii U has the most ground to pick up. With any luck, a strong holiday this year, and with Zelda and who knows what else coming next year, that system certainly could pick up and start selling crazy. And considering that's my favorite system, as I always love to mention on my videos, I really do hope that happens. But there were some other interesting facts from this article that I thought I wanted to bring up. So in this VG Charts article, they bring up a couple other interesting points. One of them is that the main reason for them to predict the 200 million combined sales figure by 2019, for the most part, is the growth of the PlayStation 4 over the PlayStation 3, because that system came out of the gate swinging, whereas the PlayStation 4 came out of the gate swinging, and it's the PS3 that came out with an abysmal launch, one of the worst launches in a very long time. But Sony did a lot to right that ship and turn things around. It became my favorite system last generation, and it ended up selling very, very well, respectably, right on par almost with the Xbox 360. So, and the Xbox 360, actually, I just saw some hard numbers. I think in the newest Game Informer, where that's actually the fourth best-selling system console of all time, which was really pretty interesting. So, of course, the PS4's growth over the PS3 is huge for that. They do mention that both the Wii U and the Xbox One are expected to sell less than their predecessors, and I think that's definitely true. I have to agree with that, especially the Wii U. There's no way that system is ever going to be able to do the numbers that the Wii did. The Wii was insanely popular and successful. The Xbox One, honestly, the 360 again was surprisingly much more popular and successful than anyone saw coming, including Microsoft. I think it was a great system. My least favorite last generation, but still a really damn good system with a great library, very well-built machine once they got over the red ring of death problems after the first couple of years of launch. So they did great things, and the Xbox One, well, I said doing averagely, okay. Basically, it's doing as expected, I would say. It's certainly not, again, doing gangbusters. It's not knocking any heads around. It's really doubtful that it's going to end up selling 80, 85 million units like the 360 did. And honestly, I think that's just because of kind of the decline of how people are purchasing their games now. Even though, again, also pointed out in this article is the theorization, the postulation that the overall monetary growth of the industry could be pretty huge as well. It could reach a record by 2019, which would mean a $100 billion industry. Now, if the game market gets that big in the next 3 or 4 years, I mean, that's insane. It's already one of the largest industries and revenue generators on the planet, so it certainly does well enough for itself, regardless of if it's slowing down or if it's speeding up or what have you. It's doing well, and for the most part, a lot of companies are making money. But if it actually reaches that level by 2019, some pretty crazy things are going to be going on, I think, to get us there. They do, of course, mention that $100 billion figure does also include consoles, handhelds, PC, and smartphones. So the mobile market is a huge part of it, and I'm sure in smartphones, that's also probably including the tablet stuff and things like that. So there's a lot of different factors going into it, whereas, the previous generations and decades, there wasn't as much to consider. I mean, gosh, going back to the 90s, there was only 2 consoles to consider. PC sales really weren't anything that was, the PC market just didn't have the kind of existence and clout that it does today. It's such a different market with the advent of the internet because of things like Steam and Origin and whatnot. So very different time when it comes to what the competition is involved with and what's made available to us as gamers. Now, here's something that I think is actually depressing. This is another theorization prediction via this article coming from the what are they called again? DFC Intelligence. So they do say, and I have to give a heavy sigh, that the digital sales are expected to be growing every year, which is not a surprise. I mean, we know that. I know that. And they, of course, mention that retail sales are expected to decline. To continue to decline, they say. Remarkably tragic and depressing news for me as someone who's a hard copy kind of guy and not a big fan of having to download so many things. By 2019, digital sales are expected to make up 85% of the gaming revenue. 85%. That is horrific to me. I think it's terrible. I get that there's a market for it, and I appreciate the convenience it offers for the people who like it, so don't get me wrong there. But it's not for me, and I think that going all digital is going to spell the death of a lot of the purity of gaming and what gaming was built on. Yes, you could argue it's just, trudging forward in the name of progress, and I totally understand that, and technology makes these things more efficient and blah, 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 blah. I don't care. I'm never going to care. Will I adapt alongside of it? Absolutely, because I'll have no choice, and I understand that this is the inevitable future that we're coming towards, but it certainly doesn't change the fact that it depresses the living hell out of me. So digital sales expected to make up 85% of revenue. Retail sales are expected to drop to just about 15% of revenue. Of course, that's, the remainder after the 85%. That is, I don't know what we're going to do. The problem is, as retail sales continue to decline, that means that retail stores, the brick and mortars and the mom and pop stores are going to be making less money. And as soon as they make not enough money, that means they'll have to be closing shop. So it's going to be the cyclical thing where the decline in sales is going to kind of feed back into the decline of available markets and stores available to sell us stuff, which means that the gaming companies are going to stop making physical product. And that, my friends, will be the death of a golden age in gaming. So whenever that comes, whether it is 2019, which I actually think that is way too early for this to happen, or whether it's later, it's going to be a very, very sad day. A lot of the younger gamers and the gamers who are growing up today and growing up with maybe the 7th generation consoles as their first consoles and getting into this market where the PC gaming is kind of king, you don't really understand where it is that we're coming from, man, but trust me, that's how gaming was meant to be. Anyone who didn't live through the 16-bit generation, that mammoth success in that wonderful, wonderful, joyous period in gaming where the most pure console war ever happened, you just don't know what you missed out on. It's like the idea of having missed out on the original Star Wars when it first released in 77, which I'm so sad. I was 3 years away from being born at that time, so I missed it. I was alive for Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, but I was still too young to see those in the theater. I was born the year that Empire Strikes Back came out. But anyway, that's kind of the point, you know. A lot of people can say, hey, I was old enough to see the first Star Wars when it first, you know, I was 7 years old when I went to see Star Wars or something like that. Those people I'm ridiculously jealous of. I would have loved to have lived through the revolution that was Star Wars. Just like I would really hope that a lot of you younger guys out there would hopefully understand where we're coming from when we talk about how great the 8 and 16 and even 32-bit generations were, because gaming was doing awesome things back then. Anyway, I kind of turned this into a tangent about basically reminiscing about the past, so sorry about that. Point is, that's kind of where things are expected to go in the gaming industry over the next 3 or 4 years. That is what DFC Industries theorizes about the next coming years and where the game industry is going to be going, you know, and apparently the consoles are still going to be doing pretty well for themselves. 200 million units combined across all 3 of the 8th generation systems. Not too shabby if that's true. I think it's aiming a little bit high with how much slower the Wii U is doing and with the Xbox One just doing okay. But again, this year's E3 and holiday for 2015 will be a huge sign as to what to expect and where things are going to go. I think this is the year that's going to really further define where the entire console gaming market is going to go and where all 3 respective consoles and manufacturers are going to be going for this generation as well. So I don't know. That's some of my thoughts on that. Pretty cool. I'm going to have the article linked below, if I remember, so you guys can check it out and kind of see the really quick synopsis of what they're talking about there. Pretty interesting stuff to think about. You know, I definitely appreciated reading this information. It got me thinking and wanted to talk to you guys about it. What do you think about this information? Read the article below. Share your thoughts about this whole idea. If you're new to Rule of 2 Review, please feel free to subscribe to the channel because it helps me out big time. Like, share, and comment on the video. Thanks for tuning in. I will catch you guys next time on another video for Rule of 2 Review.